What's going on, you guys? TBR here yet again with another Marvel Future Revolution video, and in today's video I am going to be bringing you guys some tips and some tricks on how to take down Maestro towards the end of the current campaign in Marvel Future Revolution. But before we get into that, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe. Now, of course, I do want to preface this with being that this game is not currently globally available. This is very late game, so if you guys do not want spoilers on the campaign, then you may want to click off now. But let's go ahead and walk through this battle. So I know a lot of people are having issues with Maestro, being the fact that he is a very tough boss, and he's kind of cheesy. He's just one of those bosses that he really isn't that difficult. He just has a tendency to be able to one-hit you with pretty much 90% of his skills, so it's kind of annoying. But taking a look here, the biggest thing that you're going to notice that I do right off the bat is I try to circle the perimeter. Now, depending on what character you're using here, this could be something that'll be varying degrees of difficult for you. Like if you're running a character that is going to be melee based, you're going to have to be careful. Now right here, keep this in mind, I left this here as an example. So right there, he one-shot me, right? Now, the reason I left that there is because what you noticed is I should have dashed to the edge of the screen right as he went to use the explosion. Now, for those of you who are unaware, if you are on the perimeter as far away from him as possible when he uses that AoE, even though it will show you in that AoE range, it will not necessarily hit you. However, what I recommend is you try to have a dodge and always save a dodge with this character. You are going to need it for specific times when he is going to use specific attacks on you, like right here. If you get hit by that, that's one shot, you're dead. So you got to be careful. So basically, always save a dash. Try not to use all your dashes, try not to constantly throw them out there, and try to walk around the perimeter. Now again, something that I wanted to talk about here is it's going to be a little bit easier if you're using a character that's projectile based, like for instance I'm using Iron Man. So you'll see that I'm able to kind of just keep my distance and continue to fire off skills on him, and I primarily stick with two of them. I stick with my long range skills and just take my time with him, because if you get too close to him and you end up getting a couple of pot shots, then he's going to end up killing you. So you just need to keep your distance from him and circle the perimeter. The biggest issue with circling the perimeter though is going to be the actual room itself. So you're going to notice a lot of things that are going to be jumping onto my screen and making it very tough for me to see at times. That was something that I had to compete with quite a bit in this fight, and it was honestly very annoying. I wish that there was some way around that, but regardless, you're going to have to deal with it. The best way is just to circle the perimeter, as I mentioned. Now, as you saw there with that AoE, he did it again, and this time I dodged it, and I used my actual dash to do so. And again, I do believe that when you use a dodge, if there is an AoE that you're inside of and you end up doing the dodge while that AoE is active, it puts you in a momentary iframe. So if you go ahead and you time it to where you dodge right as that effect goes off, you should be able to dodge out on that initial explosion and you won't die because of it. So keep that in mind. I use that quite a bit throughout the campaign on a lot of these different bosses, and I was able to take them down fairly easily. But overall, this was probably the most difficult boss I faced outside of Crossbones. And Crossbones himself is a giant pain in the butt. Something else to keep in mind, this is not the only fight that you have to go through for this final chapter, or at least this chapter. I don't know if this is actually going to be the final chapter because I've started to get into the epilogue stuff, and of course they're going to add story mode later. It's of course not going to be the final, but for now, the final chapter of the campaign. But when it comes to some of the other things that you have to face throughout this chapter of this fight, you're also going to have to start off this entire stage with Ares and fighting him, and you're gonna have to take him down. Now the nice thing is you get an extra life there. So basically what happens is you're gonna have 2 lives on this final chapter. One you have through, I believe, just the Ares fight through up until that final room before you come up against Maestro, but then they give you it back for Maestro. So you're not going to have 2 at a time, but they are going to give you an extra one whenever you get to the Maestro fight, which is pretty nice considering the fact that this is a very long and arduous chapter. I think it took me almost a half hour total between going from the Ares fight all the way to this fight, and you have to do it all in one sitting. You can't just pause it, you can't leave it the area and come back. You have to do it all at once. So it's kind of a pain, and it does require a lot of patience, especially if you're somebody that is going to be using a character that is going to need to be right up in his face. That's probably going to be something that's going to drive you crazy, but it is what it is. Now, about halfway through the fight, he's going to start using this here. Now, this attack here is pretty easy to dodge. You just got to walk around the perimeter and stay out of the range of those red circles, and you'll be in good shape. Now, he also starts using those tornadoes, and really the only reason why those come into play here and become a problem is because they deny area. So if you're trying to dodge, for instance, because those things stick around for quite a while, if you're trying to dodge those red circles that he puts up, as you just saw a moment ago, then those can deny you area and kind of get you into trouble here and there, but it isn't necessarily that big of a deal as long as you're sticking to your perimeters and you're trying to keep your distance and just wait them out, and they'll go away eventually. Now, that attack he just did was also an AoE, and basically it's going to apply a dot to you whenever it hits, but there are specific spots where you can dodge it. So if you will notice, there are going to be areas of that mist that are on the ground where it's thinner than other places. If you go to those areas, then you'll end up being pretty safe. So here, as a good example, he uses a tornado. I have to walk right through it, and he has those red circle explosions going on at the same time. That can be a pain in the butt and can get you into a little bit of trouble, but honestly, that tornado doesn't do much of any damage, so if you just kind of walk through it or dash through it, you should be fine. So overall, that is pretty much what you need to know about this initial confrontation with him. There really isn't a whole lot that he does that is that difficult. You just got to know what you're looking for. So right here, this is that dot AoE that I was talking about, but again, you'll notice that there were areas of that circle that were going to be thinner than others as far as that green aura or whatever you want to call it on the ground. Go to those areas and you'll be in good shape. And you'll see that I'm just circling the perimeter. I'm keeping a dash for these types of AoEs that he's using here. That way I can ensure that I'm not too close. Keep in mind also, you guys, with those AoEs, and this is not just for Maestro, but any boss in the game currently, whenever these bosses use these AoEs, it may show that you're out of range, and this is where the terrain becomes an issue there, but luckily I was good. I thought I was dead there. I could not tell if I was out of that or not. But keep in mind that you want to keep a little bit of extra distance from some of these red circles like you're seeing here with some of these attacks, because every once in a while, and it could be a latency issue, maybe it could be an issue with ping or whatever the case may be, and maybe you're actually closer than you might think, because every once in a while you'll get into a position where you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically just stand right outside of it, and I'm going to try and get a few pot shots in, maybe with a melee or something like that while he's attacking. Don't do that. Don't take that risk. Just get as far out of the range of that thing as possible, because you do not want him just to phantom hit you. I have had that happen numerous times, and then a few moments later it'll show that my ping is going crazy, and so I chalk it up to maybe a ping issue. Maybe I was actually closer than it appeared and it was just a latency issue or something along those lines. But my tip to you guys on that is just play it safe. Stay as far away from those red circles and those different areas as you can, because there's no point in risking it. This game, these boss fights, a lot of the time really just come down to patience. Like right there, you saw me, I was out of range of it just standing there, at least from what you could tell visually, but I decided just to get the heck out of there because I did not want to risk it this late into the fight. But again, patience is a virtue with this game and these fights. These fights do tend to take a little while. They take quite a bit of time, specifically him, Crossbones, sometimes Thanos, depending on which Thanos fight it is. So some of these boss battles will take you quite a bit of time. It's just one of those things where, to be honest with you guys, your patience will pay off. As you see here, we take him down, and we just used the perimeter strategy, just took pot shots, took our time, stayed away from all of those different attacks as best we could, and then eventually we were able to take him down. And of course, we were rewarded with a beautiful cutscene. Like always, this game's cutscenes are gorgeous, and I love every little detail that they put in here, especially in the facial details sometimes. Like specifically with Doctor Strange, there was a moment at one point in this game where they showed a close-up of his face, and you could see like every pore. It was crazy. So the graphics in this game, still top-notch, still chef's kiss, love them. But yeah, guys, so if you have any additional questions on Maestro, let me know in the comment section down below. I can help you out with them. But overall, Maestro isn't that big of a deal, as long as, again, you're patient, you stick to the perimeter, you try to take pot shots when you can, try to use your dash and save your dash, at least one of them for his AoEs. If you're going to be in a position where you can't get away from the total circle of his AoE attacks, then try to have that dodge time to where right as he uses it, that you can just use that dodge, get in that iframe, skip out on any damage you might take from that, and then you'll be in good shape. So the other really cool thing that happens as a result of us doing this and getting through this part of the campaign is of course going to be that we finally hit level 100 with our Iron Man. So here after this cutscene, you will see we'll collect our goodies from winning this fight. And then you will see that we rank up to level 100 with Iron Man. So I'm not entirely sure which character I'm going to move on to next. You guys can leave me suggestions down below in the comments section. I'm kind of liking either Captain Marvel or Storm at this point. I'm almost thinking I'm going to try and build up my Storm first. I had originally been thinking about Captain Marvel, but at this point I think I'm going to do Storm. That was originally going to be my secondary character I was going to build up anyway, and I think that I'm going to go back to that. But this is going to be that final cutscene, and we'll have to see what happens later on here in the campaign. But as you'll see here, after we collect the main event, we are going to rank up level 100, and we are going to unlock the final level 100 blitz, which is of course going to be Maestro again. I have yet to try that one out, but I've heard that it is very, very difficult, so I'm excited to try this one and get in there with a group of people. But anyway, guys, that is going to be today's video. I hope you found this informational and informative. I hope it helps you guys get through this. If you have questions about any of the other things in the campaign, leave them in the comments section and I will be sure to get to them. But until next time, you all take care, enjoy your weekends. I will see you in the next one. Peace.
Game over.